Audible is the leading provider of spoken word entertainment and audiobooks, ranging from bestsellers to celebrity memoirs, news, business, and self-development. Every month, members get 1 credit to pick any title, plus 2 Audible originals from a monthly selection, and access to daily news digests from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post, as well as guided meditation programs. Between a full-time job in IT and a full-time job in podcasting, it gets harder and harder to sit down and read the books I'm interested in. This is where Audible comes in. I can listen on my daily commute, relaxing, or while out running errands and still get in the books I've been wanting to get into. You can download titles and listen offline anytime, anywhere. The app is free and can be installed on all smartphones and tablets. Now you can try Audible risk-free with a special 30-day free trial by visiting audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. That's audibletrial.com/nerdery and murdery. Don't let your busy life get in the way of that great book you've been wanting to read. Go get your free trial of Audible today. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp. This is Geoffrey, and we've talked about many times before that I experience problems and struggles with my mental health, and really without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy does work. It's helped for me, but what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, or you're not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's really time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles, and it's time to start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. So join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are your greatest asset. And there's a special offer to Nerdery and Murdery listeners. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. That's betterhelp.com/nerdery and murdery. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast.
Oh my God, he's so young. I mean, like really, really young. And he really pulled it off.
Dream state, murdery and murdery fate. Voices in the wire, 2 dudes light the fire. Obsession and confession, games and death's procession. Through the microphone they speak, dark secrets, geeks seek. Murdery, murdery, crazy blend. Horror tales that never end. Dice roll, blood spills, podcasts thrill, the mind fills. Techie talk, ghostly howl. Geekdom's graveyard prowl. Mingling thoughts collide. Fascination can't hide. Twisted tales they share. Darkness in the tales and more. Behind the tales they hide, never tales collide.
Welcome to episode 203 of Nerdery and Murdery.
Big 203. I'm Zig with your nerdery.
And I'm Geoffrey with your Murdery. Welcome to another week of the highs and lows, the ups and downs, the good and the bad, and the nerd and the murd. Well, at the risk of taking everybody out of their reality and realizing how far in advance we record these, may the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
That is today as we're recording. So
Yep.
Star Wars Day for everybody, and there's all kinds of stuff all over the internet already, today for it. So big day for Star Wars nerds like me. I'm a bachelor this week. Chelsea has gone to Wisconsin to visit Miranda.
Yay.
And, well, she's going to a conference too, but she's with Miranda this weekend. Go to her hotel, I think tomorrow, something like that. I don't know. So
Nice.
So we're relying on my cooking skills this week, which are not great.
I wouldn't go that far. You're a pretty decent cook, my kind sir.
Not really.
Don't let him fool you, people. He's pretty good at it.
Not really.
Makes the best goddamn Scotch eggs I've ever had.
Oh, I can make Scotch eggs.
Only problem is, boy, it's like a tuba. It's like a tuba band in there afterwards.
Well, I made a box dinner last night. Did Velveeta beef stroganoff that I like. I like it. I think it's really good. So we had that last night.
Nice.
Kentucky Derby was last night. I won. My horse came in third.
Nice.
So I cheap bet, $10 bet. Doubled my money on that. Yeah. So.
You started with 10, now you have 20.
Right. So that was fun, for the all of 5 minutes that the race is, the build up for like 4 hours and the race is like
God.
5 minutes.
Oh my God. The having to go to the horse races with all the degenerate gamblers in my family. It's like, oh, we go to the races. I'm like, dude, it's like 30 seconds. All of that for 30 seconds.
There's so much money involved. My God, there's so much money involved in that crap. Interesting thing yesterday, every horse racing was a direct descendant of Secretariat.
Oh, wow.
Every single one.
I mean, those thoroughbreds, they all have to be related to like one of 2 or 3 horses anyway.
Well, but it's never been that where they're all
direct descendants of one horse.
Yeah. Well, of a famous, horse, Secretariat. So I thought that was pretty cool. Last week before, whichever it was, Zig and Keith came down to visit, which was really cool.
We played the Dark Tower game. Oh my God, that was so much fun. We played it twice.
That was great. I love that game. I'm so glad I got that, the re-release or Return of Dark Tower, I think it's called. That was a lot of fun. It's, so much more improved over the game from the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
It adds a whole bunch of new elements to it and everything. And gosh, that was so cool. I enjoyed the shit out of that.
Co-op game, kids. So if you're looking for a good co-op game, this is one of them.
Mm-hmm. You can play competitive, but the main rules are set for cooperative.
Yeah, and we played on the easiest 2 games on the easiest setting, and my God, it was a nail biter the whole time.
And I wouldn't call it the easy setting. I would just call it the standard setting, because there is the gritty setting that it has, because it's got an app that goes with it, and the app guides your turns along and tells you what happens, and you do all your battles on the app. It's really cool. You can do a dungeon crawl as you're going along, and the tower makes noise and plays music. And it's like, oh no, that's not going to be good. When you will play a certain song, it's like, uh-oh, we screwed up. So the people that did that did a very good job with that game. I mean, we didn't even crack open the expansions I have, because I've got one or two expansions to that game.
Yep.
Um,
And the box
so
itself is beautiful.
yeah,
The artwork on the box, the game itself, the pieces, all of it is just really, really detailed, and it's a good game. It's a good nerd game.
yeah,
Good
yeah.
strategy board game. I would recommend. Would recommend.
Zig and Keith got to meet Chuck, who we have talked about on this episode multiple times. My golf buddy.
I need to
Uh,
apologize to Chuck's wife. We went over to their house. She walks in the door, and I said, because I'm a moron, "Oh, you must be Cookie. I'm the guy that talks to you when you sleep at night."
you're such an idiot. You know, I mean, that's just the tail of the tape for Zig. I mean, I'll go back to Dark Tower for a minute. That you have these little chips that you turn in for troops and its spirit to purchase different things. And Ziggy is carefully counting out my stuff, and I said, "Stop touching my shit! Stop touching my shit! Stop touching my shit!" And he's just continued going, "Stop touching my shit." He means well.
Hopefully, Chuck explained when he's listening. That was the guy. Because if not, I'm just some weird, creepy fuckery, bro.
There's not an if not to that one at all. Chuck and I played golf Thursday together.
We love you, Cookie.
Yes, we very much do. Cookie is she is the most giving person. I mean, she heard we were over and she went and ran to the store and got a little spread and came home, and within minutes she had a charcuterie board out with she had made a rose out of one of the slices of meat, and I'm just like, too far. You go too much.
It
We're
was
just
delicious.
here.
It was
great.
so
It was great.
good.
It was great. And she does that every time somebody comes over. She is just so giving, and those are just two of the sweetest people.
Yeah.
I love them to death.
Cookie is also a very gifted painter, so if
Yes.
you see her stuff out there for sale, pick it up. Gifted, like
Very
Modigliani, gifted.
very much. But I played golf with Chuck on Thursday. On Thursdays we have boys' night out, and it's what they call a scramble. You hit best ball. Everybody hit. You and your partner hit. Whoever has the best ball, you take that and you hit from there. Called scramble.
Mhm.
On the other team was Sebastian, who is a kid he sponsors, a high school kid,
Yeah.
who plays golf, and he sponsors him. And so Sebastian was on the other team. That little shit. So in golf, you have different tee boxes. You have the red, which are they're very poorly named because the reds are called the ladies' tees, the whites are called the men's tees, and then the blues are more advanced, and then the blacks are considered the pro tees. They
Yeah.
shouldn't be called that way. They should really be if your handicap is from here to here, you need to play the reds. If it's from
Yeah.
here to here, you play the whites, so on and so on. So blacks are considered the hardest, and I don't play from the blacks. I'm not that good. Blacks are scary to play from. But for boys' night out, we had to play blacks. So that's the farthest from the tee from the green you can get is the blacks. And on hole one, I don't remember the exact distance to hole one, but it's well over 350 yards from the blacks to the green. That little shit Sebastian drove the green from the blacks. We went around.
Oh, he put it on the green
from the black.
Okay.
One shot.
Mhm.
We went later on 6. He overshot the green from the blacks, and I'm just like, this is just not even fair.
Look, I make no bones about it. I'm not a fan of the sport. I think the sport is designed to frustrate the bourgeoisie.
Oh yeah,
As I was saying to Keith, as we were watching Geoffrey play golf and getting drunk in the cart.
yeah. Those fuckers
That was the
started-
most fun I've ever had on a golf course. I want you to know that, though.
I think those fuckers started drinking about 10, and then continued through 18 holes. Every now and then I could hear them in the cart, and Geoffrey's lining up for the putt. You know, idiots.
He did. And Geoffrey hit a bird.
Geoffrey did not hit a bird. I have never hit a bird. Chelsea has. We have a lot of ducks out on the course, and they like to, lay in the path where I'm about to tee off, and I'm like, ducks, you are not safe there.
Pretty little ducks. As a matter of fact, if you check out our TikToks from April, you'll see them because I put pictures of them in there because it's like, oh, those are some nice looking ducks.
Yeah, especially like those red and pink ones or white and pink ones that are out there. I don't know what they are. They're not swans or flamingos or anything. They're
No, I think they're native to the valley.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think they're native to the valley.
Could be. God, speaking of the valley, we had a weather event warning coming our way because the last time, just a few weeks ago, when we flooded, they predicted 8 inches of rain, and we got 22 inches in 30 hours. And it was all because the cell that came over the Rio Grande Valley didn't move, just sat there and just kept pouring and pouring and pouring. Well, the whole valley went scared on Thursday and Friday and started handing out sandbags because they were predicting 10 inches yesterday. Yeah, we got nothing. We got
You
sprinkled
didn't get anything
on.
at all.
We didn't get shit. We just got sprinkled on a little bit.
A little spit. There you go.
Yeah, just a very, very little bit. I had to do my grocery shopping in the morning, and it was very, very little. I was like, really, this event was a non-event, which I mean is good. We don't need another event down here like we had just a few weeks ago. That was
there were still water lines on the houses when we were down there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and we've got a lot of people down here that are like, I'm done. I'm leaving this area because there's this one couple we know their house got flooded or has flooded 4 times, and they're just done. I think I've mentioned that a couple weeks ago, but anyway, that's all I got. You got anything, or you want to step over to the nerdery side of the house?
We're talking about Doctor Who. I always want to talk about Doctor Who.
Sweet, go for it.
Sweet. Today we're talking about the 11th Doctor. The 11th Doctor is an incarnation of Doctor Who, the protagonist of the British science fiction television series Doctor Who. He is played by Matt Smith in 3 series as well as 5 specials. As with the previous incarnations of the Doctor, the character has also appeared in the other Doctor Who spin-offs. Within the series narrative, the Doctor is a centuries-old alien Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey who travels in time and space in the TARDIS. Frequently with companions, at the end of life, the Doctor regenerates. As a result, the physical appearance and personality of the Doctor changes. Smith's incarnation is a quick-tempered but compassionate character whose youthful appearance is at odds with his more discerning and world-weary temperament. Preceded in regeneration by the 10th Doctor, David Tennant, and it is followed by the 12th Doctor, Peter Capaldi. This incarnation's main companions...
Wait. Am I confusing this? Wasn't there a Matt Smith episode which all centered around he was on the last reincarnation?
Yeah, it's in my notes. We'll get to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
The incarnation's main companions included Amy Pond, Karen Gillian, her husband Rory Williams, Arthur Darvill, and the mysterious Clara Oswald, Jenna Louise Coleman. He also frequently appeared alongside River Song, Alex Kingston, a fellow time traveler with whom he shares a romantic storyline, and he was the last Doctor to appear alongside the long-serving companion Sarah Jane Smith, Elizabeth Sladen, prior to the actress's death, featured in 2 episodes of the spin-off program, The Sarah Jane Adventures.
Chronicles?
Adventures.
Yeah. Okay.
The Doctor is a very special part, and it takes a very special actor to play him. You need to be old and young at the same time, a boffin and an action hero, a cheeky schoolboy, and the wise old man of the universe. As soon as Matt walked through the door and blew us away with a bold and brand new take on the Time Lord, we knew we had our man. That was from executive producer and head writer Stephen Moffat on Smith's casting. So
I wouldn't consider either. I wouldn't have considered Tennant both young and old at the same time. Chris Eccleston,
Didn't,
yeah,
yeah, he was young and old,
but
more
I never
old.
considered Tennant that, and definitely not Matt Smith. Matt Smith was very, very youthful.
Yeah, exuberant,
Yes.
which is great because the counter casting with Capaldi later on
Hmm.
is great. And okay, so remember, we have the 11th Doctor. There's supposed to be uh, each Time Lord has their original life and 12 regenerations. So you should get 13 altogether, right? Matt Smith is like, I'm at the last of my regenerations, but we're all going, wait, that's not right. And then he explains that David Tennant took one of the regenerations when he regenerated from his own hand, right?
Right.
That's 12. Where's the other one? And then you find out there
The
was
War Doctor.
the War Doctor. There was a regeneration. So he technically is the
Okay.
13th Doctor.
Yeah, that's what I was. That's what I was just.
Mhm.
I couldn't remember if I couldn't think if I was misremembering.
Yeah, which during Matt Smith's tenure, we find out about the War Doctor.
I didn't like Matt Smith when he started. Um, we
A
went
lot
from
of people
Tennant,
loved David Tennant.
right, and I was in that camp. I thought David Tennant was brilliant. And the switch to Matt Smith was so different.
Yeah.
He was such a different doctor. And at first I was like, I really don't like this reincarnation. But Matt Smith grew on me quickly
Mhm.
and um it has become one of my favorites. I love Matt Smith in the Doctor.
Exactly.
Not only that, I think some of the uh music is some of the best in the series, especially The Day of the Doctor.
Mhm.
That musical piece is
Mhm.
brilliant. I have it in my
Yeah.
song list. I love it.
Nice. Yeah. You have with you and a lot of other folks crossed the Doctor threshold, um, which is something that some of the older fans had been used to, and it's one of the things that, as older fans, we were worried about. The new series wouldn't go on because people weren't used to crossing that threshold. You know what I mean? Doctor Who's like James Bond. It's not. It's not. James Bond is not a person. It's a character played by different people.
So so interesting on that. I just read an article just a couple weeks ago about that exact subject because I had always heard that the name James Bond was a title,
Yeah.
and so they are actually different people. I've read an article now that says no, they are supposed to be the same.
Yeah, they talked about it in Daniel Craig's first movie when he's talking to um, Judi Dench. They talk about it. They don't
I'll
come out and say it exactly,
I'll
but they
find the
talk about it.
article. I'll find the
Yeah.
article that talks about it because I had always heard that they were actually supposed to be different people and that James
Yeah.
Bond was a title.
James Bond. Yeah.
I'll find the article.
When you get up to that level, you get a number and a name, and that's who you are. You're secret agent man.
Hmm.
You know, 007. But Doctor Who's kind of that way. The Doctor regenerates, and then you have to learn the quirks of a new Doctor. It's the same character in this case, but different. And sometimes you don't like. A lot of people do not like the new one the first time they see them.
Hmm.
And that goes all the way back to the 60s. And then
Well, but I liked Tennant when he started. I
Mhm,
liked Peter Capaldi.
mhm,
I liked Jodie Whittaker.
mhm.
I haven't seen the new one yet.
And Shitigatwa.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one yet, so I don't know about that one. But
They're
just Matt
out.
Smith.
The second season is out on Disney right now. It's pretty good.
Okay. But Matt Smith just struck a chord with me, and I didn't like him at first. But like I said, he very quickly became amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and That happens with a lot of folks. It's like, I don't know if I like this guy. And then you're 3 or 4 episodes in. It's like, I kind of like him better than the last one,
Well, I
or
love the fact
or the
that he
one
was.
two before.
I love the fact that he was so childish
Yeah.
in his mannerisms.
Hmm.
Very childish, very. Um, what's the word I'm looking for here?
Innocent, childlike.
Innocent. Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yes.
And don't eat pears. And some of that may have had to do with the fact that the first person he bonded with, which is what I love about his particular storyline, is he bonded with a little girl
Hmm.
right after he regenerated. He basically imprinted on her, and then he had to go out and fix the TARDIS and came back. For him, it was 30 seconds. For her, it was like 15 years. So she goes from a little girl to a grown woman. Um, but he bonded with Amy, and Amy became like his whole world. She was like his best friend and companion, and he loved everything about her and everything about her life, and he just tried to help her. And she was also centered around a crack in the universe, which they ended up having to resolve. I loved a lot of the Stephen Moffat stuff when he took over. Stephen Moffat was the showrunner because he took over
Hmm.
from Russell T Davis. Because Russell T Davis did it for 7, 8 years, and he's like, I need to go do something else. Stephen Moffat and his writing partner. Oh my God, I have to look in my notes. his writing partner, who also were doing Sherlock at the same time. Um, Mark Gaddis, Mark Gaddis, Mark Gaddis, and Stephen Moffat work as a team. Um, and Mark Gaddis is in a lot of episodes. He's also an actor, um, playing different characters. Um, him and Moffat basically bounce ideas off of each other, kind of like a lot of the Star Trek writers' rooms. That's kind of how those two work together. Um, so they were working on Doctor Who, and then they were working on Sherlock and something else. A lot of people were kind of bothered by the release schedule once Matt Smith started, because Moffat and Gaddis were working on so many things at once. I would have liked to have seen more during their tenure. But this is also the time when Doctor Who really went international. I mean, yes, David Tennant was big over here for nerds. Doctor Who became international under Matt Smith. There was a big push with the BBC to make Doctor Who worldwide. Um, okay, let me put this a different way. The tagline was, let's make Doctor Who worldwide. Basically, they were talking about America because the rest of the world knows about it. And America does too, but it's always been kind of a niche thing until Matt Smith's time. David Tennant less so, but Matt Smith is when they really made the push to get it into American households, even though it's been here since the late 70s. But they were also doing a lot of press junkets and things like that. So I kind of understand why the release schedule was as rough as it was. And they got better toward the end. But yeah, so you've got a new doctor, you've got a new set of companions. They redesigned the TARDIS. You've got a new showrunner or two, even though Mark Gaddis has billing, and I think the reason that they basically put him in as an actor was so he could get paid for all the work he'd been doing because he wasn't really listed. But yeah, so sorry, I kind of lost the sauce there for a second. I rabbit holed. David Tennant announced at the National Television Awards on 29th of October 2008 that he would be quitting the show in 2010 because he felt that the last 4 years he spent portraying the Doctor was enough. BBC News published that Patterson Joseph, who appeared in the Doctor Who episode Bad Wolf and The Parting of the Ways, was the bookmaker's favorite to succeed Tennant, following by David Morrissey, who had appeared in a 2008 Christmas special, The Next Doctor. Other candidates included Sean Pertwee, son of Third Doctor actor John Pertwee, Russell Tovey, who portrayed Alonzo Frame in the 2007 Christmas special Voyage of the Damned, and James McAvoy. Although Stephen Moffat anticipated choosing a middle-aged actor for the new Dr. Smith, who was 26 when cast, making him the youngest actor to portray the Doctor, 3 years younger than Peter Davison was at the time when he began his role as the Fifth Doctor. And prior to the audition for the role, Smith had never seen Doctor Who. He prepared for the role by writing his own stories featuring the Doctor and took special inspiration from Patrick Troughton's portrayal as the Second Doctor. So that may be where that childlike innocence comes from, because he really zeroed in on Patrick Troughton. And if you've ever seen any of Patrick Troughton's stuff, he's like a little kid in a candy store. and Matt Smith kind of took that, and he could, because he was 26 when he started this. Funnily enough, he is also in.
Funnily
enough,
right,
he is in a Game of Thrones prequel with David Tennant's son. David Tennant and Georgia Moffat's son. Where they both have white blonde wigs. It's brilliant. But I mean, he spends the first full episode, the 11th hour, in tattered remains of David Tennant's clothing, leading young Amy Pond to nickname him the Raggedy Doctor. The Doctor's initial outfit, chosen within the narrative of the 11th hour from an array of clothes found in a hospital, is a brown tweed jacket with elbow patches, a bow tie, braces, blue trousers, and black ankle-high boots. He wears Docs. Keep it in mind, Matt Smith in his youth was a bit of a soccer hooligan, so he kind of dresses like one. Well, I say he was a soccer hooligan. He was actually going to he played in a bunch of minor league stuff when he was in school. He was going to be a football player for our listeners across the pond. He was going to become a pro. That was his job, and he got like an injury, and that's when he got into acting. Which is also, I think, why he kind of has a limp when he walks, because I think it was like a knee. He does have a green moleskin overcoat making its way. He eventually gets rid of the tweed jacket and goes with a purple Victorian jacket. But he keeps the bow tie because, as Matt Smith liked to say, bow ties are cool. The same with a Stetson when they go to the Wild West, and they filmed out in Monument Valley in Utah for a couple of episodes, and he got to wear a Stetson, and River Song shoots it right off his head.
I thought they were in Arizona.
Was it Arizona?
Shit, you're going to know better than I am, but
I thought it was actually filmed in Monument Valley. Because Monument Valley stands in for Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Utah, California. It's because you've got these vast wastelands with these buttes behind them, and it's just a great shot. It's a great framing shot. That's why they like to use them. Like the Vasquez Rocks in California. You want a science fiction scene? Film with the Vasquez Rocks. It looks like an alien planet. But yeah, Matt Smith, he would don a fez every once in a while. That was a big thing with his Doctor, was wearing a fez, strangely enough. And then the River Song character. So River Song started out in a David Tennant episode where she meets him and he has no idea who she is. But she knows everything about him because the two characters are both time travelers, but they're meeting each other at different points in their life. So eventually they cross, and you find out in Matt Smith's time, uh, marries River Song. River Song's his wife. Um, and it's a weird kind of freaky deaky episode. And you find out later on that River is the child of Amy and Rory, and the reason she's a time traveler is because
Spoilers.
she was,
Spoilers. Spoilers.
dude, it was 15 years ago.
Spoilers. Spoilers.
She was conceived and or born in the time vortex of the TARDIS. So that's why she's a time traveler. Spoilers. Spoilers. We should just put that at the beginning. Doctor Who spoilers for 15 years ago. But yeah, you got all this going on. You got River Song, who is this captivating character who keeps meeting him in reverse. Until finally, her storyline is concluded with Peter Capaldi, because he's not the same. It's not her doctor. He's not the same. And what's great about River Song, she can step in for the audience because we know and love the doctor and we've seen him change. This is not my doctor, but I like this doctor. You know what I mean? I think it's a brilliant story framing device. I'm really, really proud of the way they did that. Hats off. Because she gets to stand in for the audience, which is what the companions are supposed to be. I kind of like, in an interview with Matt Smith, he did say he was going to have a very long black leather jacket, but it was too matrixy, and they wanted him to be a little more boyish. So the love of the bow ties and the suspenders and all of that stuff. And like his predecessor, when he first regenerates in the final scene of The End of Time, the 11th Doctor mistakes himself as a ginger, and he seems surprised as his longer hair at first mistaking his new body as female. He's like, hair, I'm a girl. And you get to see the wedding of Amy Pond and Rory Williams, which is amazing. You also get to see, in the first episode, you get to see things from the Doctor's perspective. He basically has bullet time cameras in his eyes, and total recall. So you get to see what the Doctor's thinking when he looks at something and he's trying to notice something. It goes frame by frame, and he picks up something very small and he backs it up frame by frame. This is all going on in his head. They had never done anything like that before Matt Smith, that one episode. So if I've got an episode to get you guys to go see, his first one. Because you really get to see how the Doctor works. Mm-hmm. Death of the Doctor is a nice 2-part story spinoff for the Sarah Jane Adventures, which he shows up with. You get Sarah Jane Smith and Joe Grant. So if you want to look at you want to look at the Doctor Who story from someone else's perspective, with the Doctor being in there, check out the Sarah Jane Adventures 2-part story, The Death of the Doctor. Cold Blood is a good one. The Pandorica opens, The Big Bang. But honestly, if you really, really want to get in touch with that Doctor, start with that first episode. Where he meets Amy Pond as a little girl, and he learns that he likes fish fingers dipped in custard, which for our American audiences is fish sticks dipped in vanilla pudding. I tried it on the 50th anniversary. I made a big pot of pudding and fish sticks, and I dipped it in there, and honestly, it's actually not bad. It's quite tasty. I would recommend it. No, you're not going to dip fish sticks in vanilla pudding.
Chance. Not a chance.
It's quite tasty. So, I mean, you have seen this Doctor. I like the writing. I like the acting. They do some crazy storylines just because they can. It's a lot of fun. Dinosaurs in space. Who does that? how he gets old and sad when he loses Amy and Rory, but how Amy and Rory get a happy ending either way. And then picks up Clara, who is kind of sad but kind of not. Clara Oswald is one of my favorite characters, and she's running around. She's running around the universe as like an alternate Doctor now, just like the Doctor's daughter. I would like to see a storyline with all those people in the same room. But yeah, it's amazing. I like the casting. The companions are great. He's great. The effects are good. The writing is on par. Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat are aces, straights, and flushes. And keep in mind, at the same time, they're also doing Sherlock, which was also a brilliantly written series. But yeah, that's what do you think?
I love Matt Smith. That's what I said at the very beginning of this part of the show is I didn't like him at first, but he grew very quickly. I think Matt Smith is a brilliant actor. He really he really made his own mark on Doctor Who with a very different, very, as you said, very innocent, very childish Doctor Who. He was just always so excited. And David Tennant did some of that as well, but Matt Smith was just kind of on a different level when you came to that excitement over things. The bond he shared with Amy Pond was brilliant. Amy Pond became one of the most, what am I looking for here? One of the most outstanding companions, really on her own, being able to help solve different things. I mean, there were companions before that did certain things, but I think she was probably one of the greatest companions. You know, she was followed by Clara Oswald, who also in her own right was just brilliant as a companion. But Amy Pond was just kind of on a very different level. And I think part of that is because for the first time we had a companion that was more than just a companion. Amy Pond was almost an equal to the Doctor in many ways, in a lot of things. It was a great series with Matt Smith, a great run with Matt Smith. He's another one that I can't believe only did 3 years. He and Tennant, their time seems so much longer. Peter Capaldi's, it felt like 3 years. Jodie Whittaker, it felt like 3, or 3 seasons, however you want to say that. Tennant and Smith just felt so much longer, and not in a bad way at all.
Well, about Tennant, Tennant did a lot of specials at the end, and I want to say if you take all the specials, the time in that they made them, Tennant actually did 4 seasons. Straight up, he did 4 seasons of the Doctor. Matt Smith, not so much.
But it seemed way longer.
Yeah, like Tom Baker did 7 seasons. No one's ever going to top that because no one wants to do it for that long. This show's a grind. Not as bad as it was back in the 80s when they were filming 10 months out of the year, 6 days a week, 12-hour days. You can't do that all the time.
Right.
And damn, Tom Baker did it for 7 years. Oh, hell, John Pertwee did it for 5. But yeah, it's the original Doctor did it for 3. Patrick Troughton did it for 3. He's like, yeah, 3 seems about right. John Pertwee got to his 3rd year and he's like, I'm really having fun doing this. I'm gonna see if I can't do it another year. And he was like, I'm gonna see if I can't do it another year. And he was like, no, I think 5's good. And Tom Baker just kept going until he finally went, yeah, I'm getting tired, but I probably need to hand this off. I don't want to play this tired.
And I think correct me if I'm wrong, the Matt Smith era was the first one that did a major theatrical release.
Yes. Again, that was that whole push to get it out into the rest of the world.
Yeah.
That was their big thing. And you know, like they were at Comic-Con and this and that. And yes, there was Doctor Who stuff at Comic-Con before, and the big con in New York City, which I can't recall the name of right off the top of my head. But it was big in England, big in Australia, big in Canada,
Mm-hmm.
big in New Zealand, all of the other countries that had that celebrated getting away from England, which is a lot, but not us. It remained small and niche, and yeah, David Tennant broke a lot of those barriers down. Matt Smith basically walked into the door and put on a show, and that's when Doctor Who truly became international. And when I say international, I mean American.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it's amazing. But yeah, they did the theatrical releases, and they still do them now.
Mm-hmm.
And you got some doctors you like better than others, and then some doctor storylines, even the ones you don't like, if the storyline is captivating and gripping, even the ones you don't like, it's like, oh my god, that was a great episode. Like Colin Baker, I hated Colin Baker the first time I saw him, could not stand him, and now some of my favorite episodes are Colin Baker episodes. Same with Peter Davison. Some of those are terrible, but again, it's like we've said before. There are a couple of Jodie Whittaker episodes that I would put in the top 10 ever for that show. But for the most part, her writing was terrible. Peter Davison suffered from the same thing, as did Colin Baker. By the time you get up to Sylvester McCoy, they dialed in and basically had all the science fiction writers on. But Michael Grade had decided that he wanted to get rid of Doctor Who. So that's why it went away the first time. And I curse that man's name forever. Because even though it was doing well, he's like, man, we need to get rid of it, because he had a hard on for Doctor Who. I don't know why. I'm glad he's not with us anymore.
Wow.
Yeah. That's an awful thing to say.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I know. With Matt Smith, you really kind of, he brought it in. I don't want to say he brought it into the 21st century, but he brought it into a lot more homes that it wasn't in before. And everybody kind of liked him. He's pleasant. He doesn't read as alien. You know what I mean? He's more human. And that may have been the whole idea of bonding him with Amy Pond, was like, hey, let's make him a little more human this time around and see what happens. And he did, but not like a human adult, like a human child. And that's the way he approached it. Which is what makes him amazing. Because Peter Capaldi comes at it from the exact 90 degrees from that. Peter Capaldi comes in as a grumpy old alien, which is where we started with the Doctor, and kind of reset it. But yeah, he basically he is able to thread that needle of, oh my God, we only have 13 doctors. What are we going to do when we get past it? Well, Mark Gatiss and Stephen Moffat were like, you know what? Let's just assume we've had one, and we'll take the David Tennant one as well, and we're going to make Matt Smith the 13th one, and we're going to solve our problem. And they did, quite deftly. So now he got a whole new set of regenerations. So we got Capaldi and Jodie Whittaker, David Tennant again, and Ncuti Gatwa. So we've had 4 more since then, and it's amazing. I don't see this show this show slowing down anytime soon, especially with all that Disney money. So yeah, if I was going to give a recommendation for him, I would say any of the Christmas specials. His Christmas specials are magical, and you should check it out. But if you're going to really dive deep into this dude, watch the first episode. Watch the crashing it because it opens with the TARDIS crashing. In no in England, and there's a Scottish girl in the garden looking at him. And that's where he basically bonds on Amy Pond like a duckling. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And I think I probably geeked out about him enough. I'm sorry.
I expect that with the Doctor Who episodes.
Yeah. Yeah, I can be a little more clinical with like Star Wars or Star Trek, but yeah, I got geek out. I'm a Doctor Who first. Marry, kill, marry, fuck, kill. Mary's always going to be Doctor Who. Then I'm going to kill Star Wars. And there's a lot of people who were like, I can't believe that. I was like, yeah, I just like Trek better.
My ass.
I like Trek better. It's a personal choice. If I want to see the Hidden Temple, I'll just go see the Hidden Fortress. I'll just watch Akira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress because that's what Star Wars is. It's Akira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress.
I understand that, but no, it's not a replacement for it. It's not even a substitute for it. No, die.
Mushed in with Flash Gordon.
Die in a fire.
But yeah, that's about it for Matt Smith. I think I got all the information in there, but I kind of ran around in circles. So you're welcome.
No worries. Like I said, I expect that with the Doctor Who episodes. I appreciate that, especially since we're in the Doctors where I really started because I've talked about it before. I just couldn't watch the old ones. I tried, and I just struggled with it.
Yeah, one that's an hour and a half and one that's 2.5 hours long.
Right. We get to
you never know which one you're going to get.
I was able to take off, so we're in mine now. I guess I need to probably watch the latest Doctor before we get there, since we're fast approaching that one.
Yeah, we got Capaldi, we got Jodie Whittaker,
right? We
got David Tennant again because I'm going to cover him as the 14th Doctor, and then Ncuti Gatwa.
Right. So I got to get on that. Mm-hmm. All right, cool. All right, thank you for that. I appreciate that journey. With that, I will step over to the murdery side of the house.
Murder.
For today, I got my information off CBS News, Wikipedia, Medium, ABC News, and the World Association of Detectives. And this is the murder of Dru Sjodin, Sjodin.
Dru Sjodin.
I'm going to go with Sjodin. I'm not 100% certain. First name is Drew for sure.
Drew. Where to go with Drew? Did you say okay? One of your sources was the World something of Detectives.
The World Association of Detectives.
World Association of Detectives. Love it.
Mm-hmm. So 22-year-old University of North Dakota senior Dru Sjodin was a go-getter, if there ever was one. In addition to being a diligent student, she also managed to hold down 2 part-time jobs, one at a popular night spot and the other at a clothing store in the Columbia Mall in Grand Forks. If that wasn't enough, she also did volunteer work. And the sad thing is, with any of these, she could not have known that she was living every day to the fullest, that her time on Earth would be cut short due to a very shocking act of violence. After getting off work at Victoria's Secret at 4:00 in the afternoon on November 22nd, 2003, Dru made a stop at another mall store where she purchased a purse for her mother. And as she walked to her car, she phoned her boyfriend, Chris, to do some catching up before heading home to get ready for her second job. Chris recalled that shortly after the conversation began, he heard a seemingly distracted Dru mutter, "Okay, okay," before the line went dead. He acted under the assumption that the call had been dropped and she would get back to him when she got the chance. And at the time, he hadn't seen any reason to worry. At 7:40 p.m., Chris received a second call from Dru's phone. But when he tried to engage her in conversation, all he heard in return was static, the sound of buttons being pushed at random, and wind blowing in the background. This call lasted a total of 20 seconds. This started filling him with a sense of dread, so Chris had phoned Dru's roommate, Meg, to see if she had made it home. And when he had learned that she hadn't, he started feeling that his girlfriend, who generally was so reliable that you could set your watch by her, that she was in trouble. After ending the call with Chris, Meg contacted the nightclub where Dru worked and was informed she hadn't shown up as scheduled and hadn't let anyone know she wasn't coming in. This piece of information led police to being notified at 11 p.m. Temperatures outside were dropping and snow was starting to cover the region, and so the search for Dru got underway.
North Dakota. Yeah.
Uh-huh. They retraced her steps that afternoon. The officers went to the mall where they found her car still in the lot. But then things took a very ominous turn when they discovered that her wallet with credit cards and cash were untouched and were inside, as was the bag containing the purse she had brought from her mom. They searched the parking lot, which turned up a knife sheath that had either been dropped or discarded near Dru's car. And good police work would uncover that the case was part of the sheath was part of a unique set sold at the mall's home improvement store. They surmised at this point that an abduction had taken place, but there were no obvious signs of struggle. Detectives were able to track the second call that came in from Dru's phone to the area of Crookston, Minnesota, which is 32 miles from the mall in Grand Forks. And since this indicated that the perpetrator had driven his victim across the state lines, abduction was now considered a federal crime, paving the way for the FBI to become involved in the case.
Yeah, cross the state line. That's the Fed's jurisdiction.
So, with the clock ticking, authorities wasted no time in asking the public to help in the race to locate Dru. And in the days that were to come, well over 1,000 volunteer searchers joined in the effort to bring her home safe. There were flyers posted that bore her likeness that were distributed in both North Dakota and Minnesota with the hopes that someone would come forward with information that would lead to her whereabouts. For nearly a week, Dru's phone pinged in the area of Fisher, Minnesota, which was 11 miles from where the second call had been placed. Detectives worked tirelessly to pinpoint the exact location, but then the device stopped sending signals, leading them to conclude that the battery had died. But knowing they needed to investigate all avenues, detectives did bring in Chris for questioning, but his alibi checked out. He was cleared of any involvement, as were Dru's exes and family members. A woman named Shirley Iverson, once she learned of the kidnapping in Grand Forks, contacted authorities. She was the victim of a savage attack in 1974, and she urged police to take a hard look at her assailant, Alfonso Rodriguez Jr. She knew better than most that if he weren't incarcerated, he was a danger to any member of the opposite sex who had the misfortune of crossing his path. Coincidentally, 4 days after Dru went missing, a tipster phoned police to report seeing a person they recognized as a convicted sex offender named Alfonso Rodriguez Jr. tooling around the mall on the day of the abduction. Police suspected that the person who took Dru might have been caught on tape, and so detectives went over hours and hours of CCTV footage taken at the mall on November 11th using a mugshot of Alfonso as reference. And sure enough, there he was, moving through the aisles of one store after another as if he was looking for something he couldn't find. After apparently failing to locate the item in question, Rodriguez had spent several minutes sitting by the exit doors observing shoppers as they came and went. At 3:50 p.m., he could be seen following a blonde-haired woman who was not Dru out the door. But no incidents were reported at that time. So if he had set his sights on the unsuspecting shopper, something thwarted his plans. It isn't known if he encountered Dru inside the mall, but surveillance footage confirmed that he had been in the building at the same time. Instead of questioning Alfonso in person, investigators called him at his home in Crookston. When they asked about his activities on the day of Dru's disappearance, he recalled that he had gone to the mall to see a movie that afternoon. When they pressed him for more information, he named a film that detectives soon discovered had not been playing at the mall's theater. Convinced that Alfonso, who had been caught in a blatant lie, knew more than he was letting on, detectives decided to pay him a visit. They asked him if they could look inside of his vehicle, and he had given them permission, claiming he had nothing to hide. However, this was going to prove to be his undoing. There was a number of knives, one of which fit the sheath found in the mall parking lot like a glove, and were taken into evidence. There was a substance that had all the marking of bloodstains that was evidenced in the car's interior, and DNA tests would determine that the blood was indeed that of Dru. So 9 days after Dru was last seen alive, Alfonso Rodriguez Jr. was arrested and charged with kidnapping. His willingness to cooperate having come to an abrupt end, he immediately lawyered up, and with that, the waiting game began. On April 17th, 2004, the body of a young woman, unclothed from the waist down, was found in a ravine on the outskirts of Crookston, Minnesota. The victim's hands were bound behind her back, and a rope was tied around her neck. There were tiny bits of plastic that had become entangled with the fibers, suggesting that a plastic bag had been placed over her head at some point. And investigators presumed that the killer had torn the bag away once it had served its purpose, and then a positive ID would confirm that Dru was missing no more. The medical examiner determined that Dru had been beaten about the head and face before being sexually assaulted and stabbed. Her throat had also been cut. So Dru's fate was no longer in question, so the 50-year-old Alfonso Rodriguez Jr. was charged with murder. At his arraignment, he entered a plea of, say it with me, church, not guilty.
Not guilty.
Of course. Police looked further into Alfonso's criminal history and showed that he had served time for rape on multiple occasions. Shockingly, though, in spite of his pattern of attacking women at knife point, prison was a revolving door. He would later confess that he had committed his first sex crime at the age of 21, and after that, there was no stopping him. In 1974, he had been convicted of sexually assaulting 2 women, one of whom was Shirley Iverson, that I mentioned earlier, and he was sentenced to a prison term of 15 years. 6 years later, he was back on the streets. Shortly after being paroled, he attempted to assault a woman at knife point, but thankfully she managed to escape. He was picked up hours later and was charged in the attack, and after being found guilty, he was ordered to spend the next 23 years behind bars. He was labeled a level 3 sex offender, meaning he was likely to reoffend, but he was released on May 1st, 2003.
Well, wait. So, how long was he in there?
So
Sorry, I was trying to math it.
I don't have the
Better
year.
than a decade, right?
I don't have the year or how much time of that 23 years he spent.
Yeah. Okay. So he was he hit the girl in 74.
74.
And he was picked up pretty quickly. And he got he served 6 years.
6 years later, so 1980.
Yeah. So we figure about 1980, maybe 1981, depending on how long it took him to put him behind.
Mm-hmm.
He offended again rapidly.
Correct. 6 months.
And then he got
6 years. No. Shortly after he was paroled.
Yeah. So figure he's 1980. He goes in and he gets out in 2003. Okay, so he actually served 23 years.
I don't know if maybe he might have spent 23 years, because it depends on how long he was in jail after being convicted for the other one. So it's possible, but he was released on May 1st, 2003.
Mm-hmm.
6 months later, he abducted, raped, and murdered Dru.
Yeah. Good God.
So, there was a lot of legal wrangling, but on August 30th, 2006, Alfonso was found guilty of kidnapping, resulting in death. At the sentencing, the judge imposed the harshest penalty allowed by law, which was death by lethal injection. There was an endless appeals process that was soon launched, during which Alfonso claimed that he had killed Dru as a result of post-traumatic stress disorder after mistaking her for a girl who had molested him when he was a child. He insisted that he blacked out, leaving him with no recollection of the actual crime. Needless to say, the appellate judges had given no stock to this outlandish bit of storytelling. In 2013, Alfonso finally decided to come clean and admit what everyone already knew, namely that he had murdered Dru in cold blood. He said that,
He murdered her so she couldn't tell on him.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Or he just got off on murdering her because they say a lot of
that's
these
possible too.
a lot of these guys will start out as just rapists and end up being murderers.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like it has to escalate.
Um, he told that he had watched her as she sat in the driver's seat of her car talking on the phone, so he seized the opportunity. He swung open the passenger side door and held a knife to her throat. He said she was startled, but she had tried to cooperate. This would explain the okay, okay that Chris had heard on the other end of the phone before the call ended.
Mhm.
Um,
And the wind
unfortunately,
noise when he opened the door.
yes, yeah. Um, So, unfortunately, Dru didn't realize who she was dealing with until it was too late. And when the reality of the situation sank in, Dru had fought back, prompting Alfonso to punch her repeatedly in the face, causing substantial bleeding. He was aware that finding blood in the car would put authorities on high alert, so he placed a plastic bag over her head to contain the flow. He had then forced her into his vehicle and driven to Minnesota. And what happened after that matched up with the coroner's findings. Um, Despite this confession, Alfonso's legal team continued to file appeals on his behalf. In September of 2021, his death sentence was successfully overturned. While the murder conviction would stand, the punishment would eventually be commuted to life without parole. The appellate court's decision was based on their belief that Alfonso Rodriguez, as a trial attorney, failed their client by not putting more effort into pursuing the insanity defense. So, ineffectiveness of counsel is what they're
Yeah,
claiming.
ineffectiveness of counsel, which is why it's important for everybody to get the best counsel they can.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you can get that shit thrown out. So every lawyer has to work as hard as they can to get their client off.
Oh
Gay
yeah,
lawyers.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
it's rule of law over rule of man. That's why I like our system. It's also one of the same reasons I don't like our system. But hey,
um, well, appalled at the lack of information available to the general public regarding the sex offenders who seem to live around every corner, in 2005, Dru's family helped establish the Dru Sjodin National Sex Offender Public website. Thanks to their effort, the names and whereabouts of those who have been convicted of sex crimes, both locally and in neighboring states, are now accessible at the touch of a button. In June of 2006, Dru's Law, the National Sex Offender Public Registry, was signed into law by President Bush. Um,
Dru's
so
law.
Alfonso Rodriguez Jr. will live out the rest of his life in federal penitentiary in Florida. This is a repeat offender who got away with his crimes far too long.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, it took the murder of a very innocent woman who was in the wrong place at the wrong time to finally put him away for good.
Yeah.
I do know that some perpetrators strive to turn their lives around, but Alfonso Rodriguez was not one of them. And
We
he
need to
proved it time
understand
and
what
time
we
again.
need to understand what made him.
Yeah,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? This is the guy that we need to have under a frickin' microscope.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and on top of that, lawmakers
Load him
need.
up with sodium pentothal and make him tell you.
Hey, you're hurting your own case there with the sodium pentothal because that is
No.
considered cruel and unusual punishment.
Yeah. It's not state-sanctioned murder.
It is not. It is still cruel and unusual
Load him
punishment.
up with sodium pentothal and make him tell you the truth. It's not going to kill him. It's not actually going to hurt him.
There's a lot of evidence that are in support against sodium pentothal because of what it does to the brain.
Oh, well, okay. So maybe not sodium pentothal, but something akin to that. Get him high as hell and make him tell you the truth if you have to.
Well,
he needs to be studied as a way to prevent people like this being made in society. Find out what it was that did this to him, and we need to stop it. If it is a gene, we need to find that gene. You know what I mean? I don't think it is. I think it's nurture, not nature.
Well, I think there's some of both. I think that nurture is on the grander scale.
Mm-hmm.
I've also covered stories where it appears there's a gene. We covered one. Oh gosh, I'd have to look up which one it was. It was quite a long time ago.
We
about
need to
the
find that gene and figure out a therapy to reverse it.
I covered this in an episode a long time ago, and I don't remember the name of the episode. I have to go back and look. We've done so many episodes now of the son that followed right in his father's footsteps.
Oh yeah, yeah. It wasn't raised by. It was raised by a completely different family.
Yes, he had no contact. Didn't even know who his father was. Found out later, but he ended up doing almost the exact same type of crimes that his father did. So I think there is a percentage that may be genetic.
Mhm.
But the majority of these, yeah, something turned that key,
Mhm.
and we need to study what it is. But on the also along with that, not only with the studying of that, lawmakers need to remove their blinders.
Mhm.
If they would, countless lives are going to be saved. Until then, predators are always going to have the upper hand.
Yeah.
We've got to be able to recognize the
Not
these
law
are
enforcement, lawmakers.
lawmakers. Yes.
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 Because law enforcement ain't got no blinders on.
We shouldn't have had to come to 2006 for Dru's Law.
Yeah.
Um,
We could have had that in 1985.
very, very possibly. Well, we didn't really have the internet as grand as it is now, so it wasn't as accessible.
Yeah,
Now
it would have been in all
the
police stations.
You can go look at yeah, but who was visiting police stations to
That's
go
a good
look
point.
at that? You can look on the web now of a neighborhood you want to move into and see, are there hardened criminals in your area?
Yeah.
Are there sex offenders in that area?
Uh-huh.
You can look at all that. Lawmakers need to take notice of this stuff. And they need to get ahead of this. They need to quit being behind the eight ball on this one.
Mhm.
On this type of stuff. So without a doubt, he needs to be studied, and hopefully he is. I mean, the last update I had of him was in 2021, serving life in Florida. So I assume 4 years later he's still there.
Oh, God, could you imagine being in sweaty ass Florida?
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm sure. I personally don't know. I only know from watching the prison shows I've watched that people have counselors in prison that they go to and they talk about these things.
Mhm.
I think we need to do more than just let them talk to a psychiatrist. We've got to actually do committed studies.
Yeah, case studies.
Very
with good scholars.
Yes, very intentional case studies to try to figure this out. We have
the two Mindhunter guys. Granted, I understand that is a fictional account, but it is a fictional account of how those two guys, actually I think it is a group of like 4,
correct,
figured out how to set this stuff up so they could start profiling. And it was like, we have to get a psychiatrist. We have to get a scholar involved who knows this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And honestly, we should have those people should be at every prison in America, especially as many prisoners as we have.
Right. Well, because we're overcrowded in our prisons.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, very, very intentional, specific studies to try to figure this out. And if we could figure this out, maybe we could save more people.
Exactly. It would make our society better, which is what we all want, right?
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what we all want. I mean, granted, first things first, it's the big dirty secret that no one wants to talk about. If you eliminate poverty, you eliminate a lot of crime. Plain and simple. If we just eliminated poverty, we would eliminate, I don't want to say 100% of crime, because crime's still going to happen, but we would eliminate 75% of it. And from violent crime to petty theft, it would just go away because people don't need to do it. And because it's not the poverty itself that drives the crime. It's the poverty that makes the home life rough. It is the poverty that makes the poverty that makes the parent beat the child. It is the beaten child that becomes it's a series of events. Mm-hmm. And I think if more people could see it that way, that it would make more sense. I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking through my hat.
Well, it's a great thought. The harder question beyond that, how do you eliminate poverty?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the harder question to answer. It's very easy to sit here and say, yes, if we eliminate it, that's going to eliminate petty crime. Because I do agree with you to a point that I think probably there's a very large percentage of petty theft is because somebody just needs to get money to get by. They've got to get money for rent. They've got to get money to keep their car. They got to get money to pay their bills. And they see no other way to do it. They're not making enough in their job. They might work 2 or 3 jobs, and then you do have the others. You have the people who are just lazy and they want to make money the quote unquote easy way by stealing it from somebody who has it.
Yeah, yeah, but a lot of the people who have the money because their grandpas stole it from the other people who had it.
Yeah,
So.
but that's beyond this conversation. That's beyond you can't throw these two things together. I'm talking about the petty crime.
Yeah, but you're saying that people are lazy? People who have 3 jobs are not lazy.
No. You didn't hear what I said. I said you've got the people that are hard workers, but they still can't make ends meet, and so they turn to petty crime. And I'm not saying that everybody does this. I'm saying these are the two sides of it. They decide that they have to commit a crime because they've got to make more money. You do also have the people that are just lazy and don't want to work, and they just want to take money from people who have it. You have both of those.
I understand that, but what I'm saying is, if we can eliminate poverty, and again, I'm saying that crime, that petty crime, say that person gets busted, that person is not in their home anymore, regardless of why. That person is no longer in their home. That person is not contributing to their household. That child goes without. That child leads to different types of crime, maybe not necessarily petty. It's a string. It's a line.
And I didn't disagree with you on that. I completely agreed with you on that. You're taking me way out of sorts here. I didn't disagree with you on that at all. What I was saying was, it's very easy to say we get rid of poverty, we get rid of this. And what I was explaining was the different types of petty theft, the why, regardless of what happened in the background. You've got the people who commit petty crimes because they can't make ends meet, and so they commit the petty crime to make that money. And then you have the people who have no interest.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, in both cases, eliminating poverty would eliminate that petty crime.
I didn't disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
I'm completely agreeing with you, but you keep going.
So then why make the point? What I'm asking is, why make the point in the first place? I guess I'm trying to understand that.
That's where I'm getting to.
Oh, okay.
That you've never let me get to, because you keep taking me back to, well, but yes, no. What I'm saying is, you've got these two different types. The ones that are trying to make ends meet and can't figure out a way, so they turn to petty crimes. And what I was saying is, that doesn't mean that everybody who is in that situation is going to commit the petty crime. I'm talking about the different ones that you have. They decide to do it to make some money. Then you have the ones that they don't want to work. They just want to take the money from the people who have it. So what I want to do is I would love to see us get to a point where, yes, if we could eliminate poverty, then those two areas of opportunity, I guess, is the way I'm looking at it. Those two areas of opportunity would no longer present themselves.
Exactly. I'm with you now. I understand.
You weren't letting me get there. I was just explaining the ones that we have, because you do have the ones. And then, where I was continuing on this, then you have the ones that commit violent act crimes to get money. Then you have the ones that commit the violent act of crimes just because they want to. They have the urge. They have that key that's turned that makes them need to hurt somebody, because we have those as well. And then you have those that have no idea why they do it. All of this should be studied. And yes, the easy answer is eliminate poverty.
It's not going to get rid of all of it. We still need to do the studying as well.
Right, because you're still going to have the violent people that that commit murder because they want to commit murder. We've talked in episodes about people who were not having money problems at all,
Oh yeah.
and they still B2K or BTK had a good job.
Mhm.
But he just
Something
had
broke that dude.
something broke, and he had to commit murder. So, um, and we've seen all over the place with these things, and it all boils down to what is the psychology behind it? Why is the person that commits the petty crime to make up the money they're not making? Why are they different psychologically than the person who can't make ends meet, but they just keep fighting every day? They just keep fighting every day on the right side of the law to
Mhm.
keep going. Why is the psychology different? And
Exactly.
that's where this is.
What's the point where they break the bat?
Right.
What is the thing? And brilliant. Yeah. Yeah. Hey Jeffrey, we've just solved all of society's ills. Now we just need, several $1 trillion to implement
I was going to say, we ain't solved shit.
it.
We've come up with some grand ideas how to get them implemented. No, we're way far from that.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that shit. Hell, I can't even build a birdhouse.
Yeah. Me neither. So anyway, that takes us to the end of my story. That is the murder of Dru Sjodin.
Dru Sjodin.
That will take us to the end of another recording week. As always, you can find more information about us on nerdarymurder.com. That's our hub. That's everything we talk about here. You'll find the link on our website for everything we talked about, plus pictures, plus other information, and you'll also find the link to our YouTube page, which Zig so often update.
Yeah, this one has got a lot of great little Matt. I don't think I have a whole episode, but there's a bunch of little Matt Smith scenes where you kind of see it from his perspective and stuff.
How you want to see Matt Smith? Go to Disney Plus.
Yes.
They're all over there.
Yes. Oh, is that Disney Plus or HBO? I thought HBO had them all up until the 14th, and then Disney had them from the 14th up. Now we both have to look.
Disney Plus.
Okay, Disney has them all. Cool.
Yep. Disney Plus. Also, apparently on Amazon Prime Video, premium subscription, Hulu premium subscription, BritBox subscription, Roku, YouTube TV. They're all over the place.
Yeah. But you know what I love best about BritBox? I can watch the old stuff too.
Oh, what actually you would love best about this is when I did Google where's Doctor Who streaming, up at the very top is a little spinning TARDIS. That's cute.
Yeah, I need to pull that up. I need to see that.
So where was I? Merchandise. So on our website, you'll also find a link to our merchandise page, where if you wish to show off your nerdery murdery fandom, please do consider purchasing something from there. You can also find the link to our Patreon. Our patrons, along with our merchandise purchasers, do help with the costs that are associated with this show. It costs to keep us on the air, keep our uploads going, keep our streaming service going, everything like that. It's not cheap, it's not free, and we do appreciate each and every one of you.
Please and thank you.
Please and thank you. Last but not least, please don't forget to wait. No, I'm going to stop that, reverse it. Okay, carry on. Please don't forget to leave a 5-star review wherever you can. It really helps us and helps others find our content that may be looking for the information we discussed. And now, last but not least, Chuck, you can go to sleep now.
Good night, Chuck. Good night, Cookie.
With that, not me.
I have been sick with your nerdery.
I'm Geoffrey with your murdery.
Cue the music.
Static crackles, dream state, murdery and murdery fate. Voices in the wire, two dudes light the fire. Obsession and confession, games and death procession. Through the microphone they speak dark secrets, geeks seek. Murdery, crazy blend, horror tales that never end. Dice roll, blood spills, podcasts, thrill the mind fills. Techie talk, ghostly howl, geekdom's graveyard prowl. Mingling thoughts collide, fascination can't hide. Twisted tales they share, darkness in the air. Mysteries untold, audiences hold. Rolling out the law, eerie tales and more. Behind the tales they hide, narratives collide. Fairy tales and more. Behind the tales they hide, narratives collide.